What did they make down here, and what can I make?
Like this, who needs the view? I've walked away from too many burning buildings for one lifetime. This place, though, it'll be all right. It's Inquisitor now, isn't it? That'll take some getting used to.
Everyone needs time for this transition.
Time won't help. Purpose does. And I got a load of it. Everyone just got a big, hard reason to hate Corypheus. And we already did, but we didn't have a name. You're the surprise, not him.
We left in a hurry, but you got into your old place. Save anything?
Family hammer. It's as stupid as it sounds. It's good to be back at work.
How's this place shaping up as a forge?
Better than Haven ever could be. Not the way I wanted an upgrade, but ever forward.
You've got it all up and running.
Your basics, like always. There's space here for I don't know what. This place was built for something big. It'll be a job to fill it.
I'll be back later.
I'll be here.
I've made some inquiries into the Imperial Court. The sooner we deal with the threats to the Empress, the better. The political situation in the Empire is dangerously unstable. It will complicate matters.
Everything in the Empire complicates matters. It's the Orlesian national pastime.
Turn your nose up at the grand game if you like, Commander, but we play for the highest stakes, and to the death.
The Court's disapproval can be as great a threat as the Venatori. We must be vigilant to avert disaster.
Don't worry, Josephine. We'll protect the Empress, no matter what.
I pray you're right. If the hints from Therinfor are to be believed, we are all in terrible danger. Orlais holds Tevinter at bay. All of Thedas could be lost if the Empire falls to Corypheus. Celine is holding peace talks under the auspices of a grand masquerade. Every power in Orlais will be there. It's the perfect place for an assassin to hide.
Does Celine know about the threats against her? Can we send word?
I've sent messages to the Empress, but it's impossible to know if she's received them. I'll arrange for an invitation at your discretion, Inquisitor. Inquisitor, I was just inspecting our new headquarters. Foundation cracks, nesting animals, and miles from any centers of civilization. The staff must make it presentable if we're to receive any visitors of distinction.
It certainly wouldn't do for the Inquisition to appear overly shabby.
We've only just now convinced everyone we are precisely what Thedas requires. The Templars came far to fight with us. They need to feel secure here.
After that battle with Corypheus, how could anyone not feel perfectly safe?
I can't stop dwelling on the day he attacked our camp. Do you know who first leapt to arms? Our workers. They were so proud of our cause. Corypheus simply cut them down. So much screaming after that first blast of fire. So many people turned to ash.
We lost far too many good people to that monster.
I'm sure they'll find rest with the Maker. Well, before I return to my duties, allow me to congratulate you on your appointment as Inquisitor, my lord. I will now bring diplomatic issues to your attention, and I'm more than happy to help with any situations that arise.
You don't have to be so formal just because I'm Inquisitor now, Josephine.
Our allies and guests should see you treated with every courtesy, Inquisitor, especially considering the newness of your office. Fortunately, after your courage at Haven, it's no difficult task to do so.
How are the rescue efforts? Have they found anyone alive?
Excavation is slow, as you can imagine. All right. If it was abandoned when we arrived, who named this place Skyhold?
Solus says it changed hands so many times, the original builders can't be traced.
I read the House of Armitage once built a fortress in the vicinity 5 ages ago, but the records are lost. see what we have.
What was this place? So much room for whatever was here.
Greetings.
I need to know more about Corypheus.
We spoke of this on our travels to Skyhold. What more can I tell you? Cassandra and Varric seem more familiar with their adversary.
You're a mage. You studied the Breach. You seem to have some idea how a bastard like this might think.
I'm flattered. I claim no secret wisdom, but I will guess as best I can.
I'd like to know more about the orb he carries.
As I said, that must be the means by which he created the Breach. I suspect the blast that destroyed the Conclave was more accident than anything. The result of unlocking power that had sought release for ages. What I cannot understand is how he managed to survive such an explosion.
You said that you believe the orb is elven.
I never would have believed a Devinter mage could unlock such a powerful relic. It clearly enhances his abilities, giving him access to power he should never have known.
Like the power to control the Archdemon.
Indirectly, one assumes. Nothing in any law connects my people to the old god dragons who became archdemons.
What do you think Corypheus will do next?
You shamed him when you destroyed Haven. Spoiled his glorious victory. It would be worse to acknowledge that you had done so. He must continue on his course or show weakness. He will return to his plans to throw Olay into chaos, and then conquer it for Devinter.
You're sure that's what he'll do?
As certain as is possible. Assuming I can plausibly predict a man who seeks to rise to godhood.
And can you?
The key is understanding this. No real god need prove himself. Anyone who tries is mad or lying. His deception will undo him, as it has done countless fools before.
What can you tell me about the source of Corypheus's power?
According to the law, the ancient Magistars of Devinter received guidance from the old gods. Corypheus commands a false archdemon, a corrupted old god. This suggests he no longer sees himself as their minion. Some of his unique power comes from the corruption of the Blight. The rest may come from the orb he carries.
We'll talk later.
Goodbye.
Brilliant, isn't it? One moment you're trying to restore order in a world gone mad. That should be enough for anyone to handle, yes? Then, out of nowhere, an archdemon appears and kicks you in the head. What? You thought this would be easy? No, I was just hoping you wouldn't crush our village like an anthill. Sorry about that. Archdemons like to crush, you know. Can't be helped. Am I speaking too quickly for you?
I was waiting for you to say something worth listening to.
If I did that, we'd be here all day.
There are things worse than silence.
You've clearly never been to the Magisterium's archive. That silence will eat you alive. I always assumed the Elder One behind the Venatori was a Magister. But this is something else completely. In Tevinter, they say the Chantry's tales of Magisters starting the Blight are just that. Tales. But here we are. One of those very Magisters, a dark spawn.
Who does the Imperium say started the Blight?
You know how it is. Not us. They say Darkspawn were always there. Magisters and the Blight aren't even related. Is that a surprise? No one wants to admit they shit the bed. But if Corypheus is one of the Magisters who entered the Black City and he's Darkspawn, what other explanation is there?
Why does that make you angry?
Because the Imperium is my home. I knew what I was taught couldn't be the whole truth, but I assumed there had to be a kernel of it, somewhere. But no, it was us all along. We destroyed the world.
So you'll just stand here and whine about it then?
I could head south, try to stop the Venatori myself, spread a warning when they march. Wait! I already did that! I have no intention of letting Corypheus win. Not without someone from Tevinter standing against him. It would have been nice if you'd helped stop Alexius. But that's not how things went. So be it. If it's all the same to you, I'd like to stay and help the Inquisition.
You'd really fight your own countrymen?
Southerners like to think of the Imperium as nothing but slavers and cultists. Why not? That's all you see. But it's not true. Some Tevinters are not only handsome and well-dressed, but rather put off by all that rot. So, I'll happily kill cultists or anyone who thinks a Darkspawn god is the way of the future.
What if this is a ruse? The Venatori could have captured you, sent you here.
Rather elaborate, considering they'd need to have assumed you'd escape Haven. But I am the ideal spy. Charming, clever, perfect teeth and hair. It all fits. How about this? Let me help, and you can hang me later, if you wish. I look good in rope.
We can use all the help we can get.
No one will thank me, whatever happens. No one will thank you, either. You know that, yes?
We don't know what will happen. Nobody does.
An optimist! Such a rare breed. I've stumbled upon a unicorn. All I know is this. Corypheus needs to be stopped. Men like him ruined my homeland. I won't stand by and let him ruin the world. Oh, and congratulations on that whole leading the Inquisition thing, by the way.
Sister Leliana will want access to the birds. Get the cages up here. Quickly.
I'm sorry.
So am I.
The names of those we lost. You must blame me for this.
We all saw who attacked us. We know exactly who to blame.
I keep wondering if I could have done something different. When the first of my lookouts went missing, I pulled the rest back, awaiting more information. If they'd stayed in the field, they could have bought us more time. I was afraid to lose my agents. And instead, we lost Haven.
More likely they would have stayed out there, died, and we would have lost Haven anyway.
You don't know that. Their lives could have bought Haven a small chance. My people know their duty. They know the risks. They understand that the Inquisition may call upon them to give their lives.
Our people aren't tools to be used and discarded. Your instincts were right. Their lives matter.
Can we afford such sentimentality? What if Corypheus...
We are better than Corypheus.
Our agents have encountered more followers of Corypheus, these so-called Venatori. Their leader, Calpurnia, has them searching elven ruins. For what, I do not know. I propose we stop the Venatori before they find what they seek.
Do you know anything about Calpurnia?
Only that Calpurnia is a name from ancient Tevinter legend. An unusual one. She was a priestess of Dumat, foster mother to the founder of the Imperium. A name like that is meant to assure the Venatori they follow in the footsteps of legends. We must prove them wrong.
What strategy do you have in mind?
A subtle approach. These Venatori have been shadowing a merchant called Vicinius on Calpurnia's orders. They've investigated his finances, surveyed his warehouses. I propose that you meet with Vicinius. Flatter him. Find out what he knows of Calpurnia.
Vicinius sounds like a Tevinter name.
Born in Tallow, although he claims to be from Virantium. He sells rare oils and amber, and prefers red wine to white.
What side of the bed does he sleep on?
He's unremarkable. I cannot think why Calpurnia would care.
What if Vicinius is as much in the dark as we are?
It never hurts to eliminate an avenue of inquiry. And we should tread lightly with the Venatori. They have contacts and spies, just as we do. The sooner you speak with Vicinius, the better.
If flattery doesn't work, I'll try something stronger.
As bards say, begin with the sweetest verse. Vicinius could be a most helpful friend. I'll make arrangements for you to visit his summer home in Val Royeaux. Hopefully, your attention should be enough to pique his interest. We'll have Calpurnia's secrets yet. Inquisitor?
The Divine's death hit you hard. How have you been feeling?
Oh, you are referring to my outburst in the Haven. I am much better now. Justinia was such a dear friend, and there were so many things going wrong.
Sometimes it's best to talk these things out.
I was there when the hero Ferelden defeated the Archdemon. We won the day, and I thought the Makers smiled on me. When the Divine requested my help, I went to her. I owed her that much. I sacrificed so much to do the Maker's work. But now, Justinia is dead. I was angry. I felt betrayed. But I shouldn't have let my emotions get the better of me. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize. You were grieving and upset. I understand.
Thank you. Now enough of this. Let us think more pleasant thoughts.
Anything I should know?
It seems that the Orlesian army is awaiting our next move. Some of the generals are sympathetic to our cause. Others are still suspicious. Our actions are under a great deal of scrutiny.
I'll leave you to your work.
Roderick, that Chantry fellow who led us through the mountain from Haven. You know he died, I assume. Got us as far as the camp, and then... that was it.
I can't say I feel sad about that. He was...
I've heard. I helped him walk. He... talked about you quite a bit. He just needed to be sure you were Andraste's chosen. He was terrified of what it meant, if it were true. But in the end, he believed. He asked me to tell you he was sorry.
It's good he saw the truth, even if it came late.
Not too late for him to help. Anyway, we can talk about something else if you'd rather.
There must be some reason you haven't left. You can't want to stay.
Why? I have to be fond of you to agree with what you're doing. I do think you blunder about, Inquisitor, thrashing like a caged dragon at everything that displeases you. I still believe Corypheus needs to be stopped, and that I need to be here to help stop him.
Oh, you think you would be such an immense help against Corypheus?
If you'd let me, yes. I have every reason to put my life on the line here. Corypheus was a Magister. He represents everything dark and terrible in my country. I have to help. Even if it means I stand on the sidelines watching, I'll do it. I need to know he's defeated. If that's meaningless to you, then tell me to go and I will.
No, I'm not asking you to leave.
Excellent. Then let's not belabor it further.
Did you know we're actually related, Inquisitor?
Related?
Oh, not first cousins or anything like that. Can you imagine? You're a Trevelyan, however, and somewhere in dank nethers of my family tree, there was also a Trevelyan. Perhaps he was even the one who ventured to Ostwick to establish the branch. We are talking long ago, of course.
You know that off the top of your head.
Not the top. Maybe the lower middle, thereabouts. Bloodlines are serious business in Tevinter. You're taught lessons and tested by strict nannies. I heard your family mentioned, and I had to go through all the old mnemonics, but yes, there it is. I knew there was a reason we looked so much alike.
Yay?
Indeed! Yay!
I just...
Oh, pish. You go back far enough. 90% of Thedas has Tevinter blood. No need to panic, Inquisitor.
It occurs to me that I barely know anything about you.
Beyond my being a mage from Tevinter, you mean?
Beyond that, yes.
And beyond my being so charming and well-dressed, which is obvious to anyone.
You certainly think highly of yourself.
It's true. I could be more modest, but I'd be lying. Now, what was I talking about?
Ah, yes, me. I am the scion of House Parvis, a product of generations of careful breeding and the repository of its hopes and dreams. Naturally, I despised it all. The lies, the scheming, the illusions of supremacy. That's Tevinter in a nutshell, isn't it? Needless to say, my family was not happy with my choices.
Why would your family be upset with your choices?
Because I rejected their idyllic plan. If they had their way, by now I'd be married to some unlucky girl from a powerful family. We'd live in luxurious despair, despising each other as I waited to take my father's place in the magisterium. I declined the honor, and thus it's best I'm far from home. Less of an embarrassment that way, you see?
I'm getting the impression that you don't care much for your homeland.
On the contrary, I care for my homeland a great deal. There's so much potential. Sadly, we squander it. We refuse to acknowledge how far we've fallen because pretending is easier. We pretend the Qunari can be beaten. We pretend that we're superior to everyone, even our own people. Not everyone feels that way. I don't. Sadly, we're the minority.
It just seems... so much of what you say about the Imperium is entirely negative.
It might sound that way. For all our faults, my people have many virtues. We are laden with history and culture. Tevinter is where Thedas truly began, remember? We treasure our past and preserve it. You can walk down a side street and find nothing built during the modern ages. And despite appearances, we care. Deeply. About everything. We have no reserve, not in war and not in love. If I truly believed my homeland was beyond all hope, I wouldn't miss it so much.
What do you mean by generations of careful breeding?
The great families of Tevinter don't have children. They refine traits, weed out the undesirable, and promote the rest. My mother was chosen for my father because magic runs strongly in her blood. Never mind that they loathed each other. They wanted a son who could become Archon to make House Parvis the envy of the Imperium. They got me. A cautionary tale that you should be careful what you wish for.
Why remain with the Inquisition? Why not go back to Tevinter?
I'm not exactly welcome back home. Not that it matters, I'm quite accustomed to being a pariah. It adds to my charm. I can do more for Tevinter here. If the Venatori succeed, it'll set my homeland back 1,000 years. I'm sure some Magisters would disagree, but that's why we kill them.
I think I've heard enough.
That's too bad. I never tire of talking about myself.
I'd like to ask you about Tevinter.
Ah, yes. Everyone outside the Imperium always seems quite fascinated by it. Probably why they come up with so many ridiculous tales. Flying cows over Minrathous. That's madness. All right, that one's actually true, but the cows didn't have wings. I digress. Anything in particular you wanted to know?
Corypheus is a figure out of Tevinter history. He was a Magister.
Yes, but that was a different time. The Imperium's power was at its peak then. The Civil War had ended, the Magisterium was united, its armies scooping up bits of Thedas like candy. The Magisters who entered the Black City, it was a demonstration of how exceptional Tevinter had become.
But who were they?
No one knows. There's no record of a Magister named Corypheus. All this happened 1400 years ago, before the Blight nearly wiped us out. There are no records. Today, people half believe it's all just a story. That's what I believed.
We have evidence the story is very much real.
But not who Corypheus is, if he even remembers. There used to be families who claimed some of those Magisters as their own. That stopped when the Chantry appeared. Then it was shameful, and the families distanced themselves from the tale. All we know is that some men and women entered the Black City looking for the old gods. What did they find? According to Corypheus, nothing. And only he could tell us more.
It seems strange that an entire empire would be ruled by mages.
I find it strange that your mages don't rule anything at all. Actually, the fiction in the Imperium is that mages don't rule. The Magisterium rules. That Magisters are all mages is considered a convenient technicality.
What is the Magisterium exactly?
The upper house of the Imperial Senate, and the only part worth having a seat on. Those seats are split among the circles of Magi, the Chantry, and the major families. All mages now. It's odd that outside the Imperium, you use Magister like it applies to every Tevinter mage.
If you're not a Magister, then what are you called? No special title?
I'm an Altus, which is almost as good as a Magister, depending on who you ask.
I've never heard of an Altus.
Upper class. Those families who trace descent from the Dreamers, the first prophets of the old gods. If you're a mage and you're not Altus, then you're later, lower class. If you're not a mage at all, you're Soperati. That's everyone else. We do love our fancy words.
I thought the Archon ruled over the Imperium.
Well, yes. Technically, he can overrule laws passed by the Magisterium, but that never happens. Even so, he gets to appoint new Magisters, which means all the families vie madly for his favor. Thus, the Archon gets invited to all the parties. The truest path to Tevinter influence, let me tell you.
If it's a fiction, that means mages do rule then.
Yes and no. Let me put it this way. Mages do rule, but not all mages are equal. If you're not from the right family, chances are you don't rule anything. Maybe you're even a slave. The idea that anyone could be a mage, however, keeps the masses placated.
Can anyone be a mage?
Technically, the potential runs mostly in bloodlines, but it's been known to happen. More importantly, commoners believe it can. Tevinter legend is chock full of mage heroes from humble origins. So they hold out hope. Someday my son or my son's son will be a mage. Someday. Poor sods don't realize that means he'll be a quaestor at the arse end of the 100 Pillars, at best.
Being a Quaestor isn't a good thing.
I imagine the average non-mage likes to think so. Counting numbers and shuffling papers all day is better than many occupations after all. If you're a second-class citizen among a pack of piranha, however, your outlook changes.
Let me ask you something else.
Of course.
There's an Imperial Chantry, isn't there? With its own divine?
You people aren't supposed to talk about the Black Divine, are you? If you mention him outside the Imperium, people make that face, like you're urinating in public. But yes, we do have the Chantry, or a version of it. Night and day comparing it to yours.
Is the Imperial Chantry so different from ours?
Not in theory. The main difference is in the whole magic is meant to serve man, not rule over him business. Back home, ruling the unwashed masses is serving them, for the good of the Imperium. Perhaps it started with good intentions, but these days it's academic. The circles are in command.
There are circles of magi in the Imperium.
We don't have dismal little mage prisons, if that's what you mean. They're academies, prestigious ones. We have Templars as well, but they don't cancel spells or whatever your Templars do. They're soldiers. They watch for abuse of magic, yes, but only those who are weak or who fall out of favor get dealt with. Mostly they enforce the Magisterium's edicts. The Chantry smiles and nods from the sidelines.
Do you really call him the Black Divine?
We don't call him that, oh no. In the Imperium, he's the true Divine. The woman sitting on the Sunburst throne is some backwater pretender. It all stems from a disagreement over Andraste. Marvelous, isn't it?
Why would they disagree over Andraste?
It's not my field of expertise, but the Imperium believes Andraste was a mortal woman, a mage. Down south, they say, no, she's the bride of the Maker, ascended to his side, divine provenance, a blah blah blah. We feel better believing Andraste was one of us. Makes executing her less damning, you see. So we elected a man as divine, the South declared war, and we've been feuding cousins ever since.
So the Imperial Divine is always a man?
All the better to distinguish him from that other one, yes. Don't think there aren't a number of female magisters who bristle at that. Why can't they be divine after all? Same reason you never see a man on the Sunburst throne. Because that's how it's always been done. Excellent reasoning.
Do you consider yourself Andrastian?
The big question. It might surprise you that I do consider myself Andrastian. I simply do not believe in the Chantry. It is a relic, whether back home or here in the south. Something from a bygone age desperately clinging to relevance. It's not an opinion that makes me popular.
I'm not surprised. It's not an opinion you should share.
You did ask, if you'll recall. I'll say this. I may not believe in the Chantry, but I believe in you.
In me?
That the Maker sent you, whether through Andraste or fate. Cassandra is not wrong. You are what we needed most at the moment we needed it. That's what they will say in ages to come.
That's true. I feel the same.
My, someone's full of themselves, aren't they?
I was just agreeing with you.
Don't agree on my account. A little doubt wouldn't harm the Herald of Andraste. Me? I've seen too much to believe I know everything. The world is bigger than I. Even bigger than you. It laughs at all the things we think we know. The Maker doesn't need me to believe. But I do. The thought of no one at all watching out for us is too frightening.
Let me ask you something else.
So many questions.
I'm wondering if the Imperium would be a useful ally.
I'd think you'd be more concerned whether or not they'd support the Venatori. They won't, of course. At least, not officially. They'll disavow all knowledge of dangerous cultists. Secretly, many Magisters will rejoice at the idea. And if the South falls to chaos in the meantime, all the better.
It would be in the Imperium's best interest to help. Surely it could use allies.
I think the Imperium gave up on the idea of allies a long time ago. We've been fighting the Qunari for what, 200 years off and on? It's a point of pride that we go it alone. They'll sneer at the South behind their silk handkerchiefs and say, "You've had it easy for far too long." Let's not forget that the Inquisition seems to be an arm of the Orlesian Chantry. Anathema so far as they're concerned.
We're not part of the Chantry. The Chantry opposed the Inquisition's formation.
You think that matters? Don't be silly. The Herald of Andraste. Your very title smacks of the Southern Chantry. You may as well be a heathen. I think they're far more frightened what you'll do if you succeed.
Just how often is blood magic used there?
Oh, not at all.
Not at all.
That's what any Magister would tell you. They'd be convincingly offended by the notion, too. Of course, what people call blood magic here, and what we consider blood magic, are two different things.
What's considered actual blood magic in Tevinter?
Blood magic isn't inherently dangerous. Using your own blood or that of a willing participant, what's the harm? The problem is that what's permitted only gets you so much power. And what if you need more? You always need more. That's where we get into sacrifices and demon summoning. None of that is done. Not officially. Behind closed doors, it's a different story. Real blood magic can give you an edge, a leg up against your opponents. It's safe to assume that any mage of rank does it. The rest are quietly shut out of power, to put it bluntly.
You'd think the Templars would object.
I imagine they did, long ago. Once, their investigations might have been sincere. Then their balls were cut off. Too inconvenient. Nowadays, only the friendless are accused. And most of them probably innocent.
There must be some mages who oppose this.
Of course. I do. And I'm not entirely alone. Occasionally, there'll be a Magister who makes noise. And then the reform talk begins. All very patriotic. Meanwhile, that Magister will be quietly shunned. Chances are, surprise, it's learned he was a Maleficar all along. Most learn to keep quiet. Me? I enjoy the allure of pariahhood.
Anyone who talks about the Imperium mentions slavery. It's the center of the slave trade.
Ah. That is true.
And? Did you have slaves?
Not personally, but my family does and treats them well. Honestly, I never thought much about it until I came south. Back home, it's how it is. Slaves are everywhere. You don't question it. I'm not even certain many slaves do.
That's it! You don't question it!
In the south, you have alienages, slums, both human and elven. The desperate have no way out. Back home, a poor man can sell himself. As a slave, he could have a position of respect, comfort, and could even support a family. Some slaves are treated poorly, it's true. But do you honestly think inescapable poverty is better?
At least they're free. They don't have slavery forced on them.
You think people choose to be poor and oppressed? I doubt it. I don't know what it's like to be a slave, true. I never thought about it until I saw how different it was here. But I suspect you don't know either. Nor should you believe that every tale of Tevinter excess is the norm.
That's all I wanted to know.
Fair enough.
I should go.
Try not to kill anyone without me. Something you need?
I should go.
Look at this place. It's a bloody palace, it is.